Good afternoon, Ph.D. graduates. I wish we could be together today live and in person, but the COVID pandemic has forced us to be apart. However, with the advent of widespread access to the vaccines, my hope is that we will be able to gather in person very soon. I want to congratulate all of you for your remarkable achievements. What you've done in earning a Doctor of Philosophy in your various disciplines requires enormous effort, perseverance, hard work, commitment, and intense intellectual work. You were instilled with these values through the engagement with your teachers, your parents, your mentors, your spouses, your partners, and your loved ones. And so I hope that you'll take some time as you reflect on your accomplishments to thank all those people in your life who have played such a major role in your accomplishment, your friends and your family, your loved ones and your mentors. We live in unusual times. We live in a time when the world seems like a very small place. We also live in a time that's technology enabled as a world. And you are the hope of our future world. As the United Nations articulated in the Sustainable Development Goals just a few years ago, the challenges that the world faces in the coming years are really many and complex. But with the skills and abilities that you have developed and that you now have, you're very well positioned to not only help solve these challenges, but to become the leaders of organizations and teams which bring these challenges to heal. The leaders of companies, the leaders of universities, of non-governmental organizations, of startups, and the leaders of ventures of all size will contribute to making the world a better place. I'm always struck when I talk to alumni of our great university, particularly many years after their graduation, at how incredibly accomplished they are. Many of our alumni are recognized for patents and inventions. One of our alumnus is among the 5 greatest inventors in terms of the number of patents currently in the world. Many of our alumni also found companies or become chief executive officers of large multinationals. And many participate in service to society in a number of ways. No matter what you pursue, I am confident that we will all be very proud of you and your accomplishments. And I hope you will feel the same way. So PhD graduates, I hope as you approach this commencement, you look back on your education at Illinois Tech with fondness. And I hope you recognize the contributions of so many to making your education. Congratulations again.
It's my privilege to give you the presentation of the significance of the regalia and the hood in this 2020 spring semester hooding ceremony. I have to acknowledge that we're obviously not in the normal circumstances or the circumstances that we were planning to be, but it occurs to me that shared experiences, especially very significant ones, whether or not we're in the same room as we were expecting to be, whether or not that we are watching this presentation and participating in this ceremony at different moments in time. So this is pre-recorded before this moment in time. And I have to say I still feel the emotions of participating in something that I went through myself, a very significant experience, and one that it was an honor to share with people that I cared about. This is, more than anything else, a celebration of the culmination and the recognition of completion of something very, very significant. Completing a PhD is really only understood by those people who have done it, that understand the hard work and the dedication, not just the smarts and the intelligence and the learning, but the simple perspiration, not just the inspiration that went into getting to this stage. So let's look at this. What is the significance of the regalia, the origins of the modern regalia? Well, simply put, it's not particularly modern. There are multiple origins in the medieval era in particular, in the late medieval era, moving into the Renaissance era. Long story short, we are wearing this regalia in ceremonial circumstances of academic achievement and recognition because it's been done for hundreds of years. And the significance of what we wear, the robes, the hood, which doesn't look like a hood, it looks more like a scarf, because we wear it over our shoulders rather than bringing it over our heads, because we don't particularly want to look what we would describe now as weird. So instead we wear these special colors to show the subject in which we have achieved mastery in and recognition in. We wear that over our shoulders, but if we really wanted to, we could have a pointy hood shape over our heads when we go through this particular ceremony in person. So the origins of the modern regalia: multiple religious and learned organizations wear the robes and wear the hood and the head coverings to signify that they are set apart. They are dedicated to learning. They're dedicated to a particular mental, emotional life discipline. So pictures of Linus Pauling and Andrea Mangia in this particular image show two different types of hat you might wear: the mortarboard and the other forms of head coverings, or actually some institutions don't have head coverings at all. But let's just take a moment and look at the mortarboard, because there are conflicting traditions as to why this came about, and it's actually rather interesting. So the mortarboard is called a mortarboard possibly because it's pointing towards an artesian origin. That is, the board which a plasterer, a labourer, a bricklayer would use to be able to apply the binding element in their particular labour to put things together, to build a structure. So it symbolises both the hard work and the dedication that enables somebody to reach this point, but it is also a recognition of somebody who's a master craftsperson or a master expert in the thing in which they have been given the recognition. It's also, in some circles, regarded as being symbolic of the ceremony of passage of the boarding school. Well, they were called a mob at the time. The boarding school boys who were studying at Merton College in Oxford. And it was called the Mod Quad, was the area of their residence and the area of their study, and they would boisterously run around between their dorms and their study areas, or so it said, in and around 13th, 14th century era. Now, the building structure is replicated around the world as the quad. We hear about the quad. Now remember, that quad, that square shape, is very similar to the mortarboard shape. And there was this idea that upon graduation from being just a student to completing their studies and being recognized, that the students would tie the books of learning onto their heads and walk across the mod squad. So the idea of compressing all of those books, fitting into their head as a ceremony that they've completed things. You decide whether or not, or wherever or not, either of those meanings means anything to you in particular, but I think the overall convergence of the stories and the metaphor is that you've worked hard, and it involved compressing a lot of knowledge into your mind to be able to use, to reproduce, to be able to speak of in your ongoing life. And so it's a mark of passage to be wearing the hat, or be thinking of wearing the particular hat or head covering during graduation. I make a reference to this being Kung Fu, partly because martial arts and Kung Fu is very much part of my own life, but more importantly, it's because of the symbolism that comes from this particular expression and meaning, which is a recognition of something that is awesome, a practice by a practitioner of something that is actually very hard and takes a great deal of dedication and practice to be able to show, to be a practitioner, to be a master of it. And possibly one of the definitions of being a master, being a Ph.D., is making something that is actually very hard look easy. And you've all experienced this, possibly at the beginnings of your studies when your supervisor or learned instructor took something that was a very difficult operation, be that an aspect of a physical experiment or be that through a mathematical operation, and they made it look easy. And at that moment in time, you wondered whether or not you would ever achieve a similar level of mastery or awesomeness in that context. And the fact that we are sharing this experience today very strongly indicates that you have. So a graduate is somebody who is worthy of merit, and this is the recognition of you today. The other reason for wearing the regalia is that it's quite simply fancy dress. It's a rite of passage, and it's an opportunity to celebrate, so we dress up, partly to show that we celebrate and to get into the mood. But the hood, in particular, a number of traditions in learning, in physical medicine practice, clinical practice, and certainly in academia and religious orders converge on the hood because it's a symbol of belonging to something, but it's also an enclosure and a focus on something that is special and is dedicated. So the idea behind the hooding is partly simply because it's a convergence on traditions that we've been following for hundreds of years, but it is also because it is a symbol of being bought into something and recognition of a practice that you have maintained over a period of time and are recognized by the society. So welcome to the not-so-secret society of academic graduation and Ph.D. hooding. It was also, in human history, the hood or the special garment and the conveying of a special garment onto another is an indicator of being, for want of another expression, anointed, dedicated, being enthroned. It is the moment in time of coronation of your studies and your practices being brought to a celebratory completion. So, in short, the hood and the hooding ceremony, a rite of well-earned passage, and all I have to say in addition to that is incredibly well done. The people participating in this ceremony today understand from their own personal experience what the significance meant to them when they were finally granted the opportunity of being called doctor, when they were granted their PhD, and when they were recognized formally in this process. Well done.
Hello, my name is Jamshid Mohammadi. I'm the Dean of Graduate College at Illinois Tech. I would like to extend my warmest congratulations to our candidates who are receiving the highest degree from Illinois Tech this semester, that is a PhD degree. This is our online hooding ceremony. Usually this is a live event attended by the candidates and their faculty advisors and family and friends. We always had a little celebration after the event. However, around mid-March, because of the situation this semester, we decided to go online. Your names would appear at the end of these talks as a way of acknowledging your hard work and receiving the PhD degree from IIT. Candidates, you spent many hours of hard work in laboratories and by computers to come up with new ideas and new methods. Now you have achieved your goals. You are ready to present these new ideas and methods to the society and to the profession. Congratulations. And at the same time, when you were working on your doctoral degrees, your family members had to tolerate some of the hours that you spend away from them. Therefore, my congratulations and thanks would go to them as well. I would also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the hard work of many of our staff members who did the behind-the-scenes work. I would like to acknowledge the hard work by Dr. Jonathan Harmon of Graduate Academic Affairs, who led the effort, and the work by Mr. Rick Siderich and Mr. John Kazibet of Academic Technology Services, who did the editing of the videos together, and Ms. Jeanette Masura and Ms. Janessa Barbain of the event services, who have always helped us with this ceremony. I would like to sincerely appreciate their hard work. Candidates, I would like to congratulate you again, and I look forward to the day that I can meet with you personally and shake your hands and congratulate you in person. And meantime, I wish you success and have a wonderful day. Thank you.